Hey guys, welcome back to one of my Epic 7 YouTube video guides. Today I'm going to be talking about what units you should 6-star first. Now, in the past, you used to always want to 6-star your farmer, but because you get penguins now, when you have max level units on your team, you don't really need a farmer anymore. In fact, you can just use 5-star Arbiter Villager and he can carry and solo carry your farming runs. So now, because of that you don't really need to 6-star your farmer, I would really suggest 6-starring your Wyvern Tank first because it will be the first area of content that you focus on, whether it be Angelica or G-Perk. I actually have both of them here at 6-star because I switched from Angelica to G-Perk for Wyvern, but whichever one you decide to use for early game, just 6-star it right away and it'll make your Wyvern runs a lot easier, because the hardest thing about Wyvern is your tank surviving, and the 6-star will give them enough stats to survive if you use the free HP gear. After that, it really depends on what you pull from selective summon. Most people would have pulled Sigret because she is one of the best Wyvern DPSs in the game, and it is what most people recommend you to pull. If you did pull Sigret 6-star after, you can see I have her 6-starred, 6-star Awakened, even 15 Mola. You know, she's basically maxed out in the starting department and skill enhanced department, and it really makes a difference in Wyvern. It'll speed up your runs and make it a lot more consistent. For early game, you'll really notice a difference on it. If you didn't pull Sigret and you pulled a unit like Ravi or Vildred, I would suggest 6-starring them next. Ravi is really good in early game PvP, which you'll need to hit in Arena, I think Gold 1, right? To unlock your Moonlight Blessing 6-star. So if you took Arbiter Vildred and you have Ravi, you can't unlock Arbiter Vildred to 6-star until you get to Gold 1. So you're gonna need to, like Ravi will, at 6-star, will pretty much solo carry you there if you have Soul Weavers with her. Vildred's another good option because he can kind of farm for you, and he is pretty useful early game in PvE in like raid, and you can even use him in Abyss in some early stages. After those though, it really depends on what you want to tackle. Now, most people would suggest after Wyvern you tackle raid, which is here in Labyrinth, and bottom you'll see this, and then yeah, raid. Normal raid will drop you 67 gear, which isn't that bad because from the store you'll be able, inside normal raid, you'll be able to get like an immunity weapon and a speed chest, which are really high rolled, and they're actually pretty useful even like mid game. You eventually won't use them anymore, but they'll give you a head start. The main thing is you want to get into Hell because it drops really good first time gear. That's level 88. People use it still late game. You also get the same thing as normal. You get you get an immunity chest and a speed weapon instead. The sets are swapped, but they're really good. I actually have a bunch of them, right? So right here, she's like 1, right? You see it's like rolled like okay, right? But yeah, so raid is usually the area of content you tackle after Wyvern. Like some people, you know, want to dabble in Abyss a bit. It's fine, not really recommended. Some people want to just focus on Arena. If you're actually having trouble getting to Gold 1 to unlock your Moonlight Blessing, it might be worth like 6-starring 1 or 2 units for PvP, stuff like that. The only thing you need to realize is that units fulfill different roles within the game. What I mean by that is there'll be tanks like Angelica, you know, G-Perk, you know, Wyvern tanks, right? Amomo's another tank. Most knights will be tanks. There's also single target DPS like Lorina, you know, Landy, Spectre Snebria, right? There's AoE DPS like Arbiter Vildred, utility. Within utility, there's going to be defense breakers, buffers, cleansers, dispellers, right? So the most important thing about early game is you want to be really efficient in using your resources. Basically what that means is you want to build units that can be used in different content, and the best way to see if they can be used in different content is you want to see if they are flexible and have different roles, right? So you don't want to build like a tank that can only tank, right? They need some kind of utility, like they need a defense break or a buff, cleanser, dispel, right? You want to build a single target DPS that can defense break as well, or maybe has AoE DPS built in, like stuff like that. Generally, you want to prioritize 6-starring your DPS first, because since you already have your Wyvern Tank 6-starred, you can use them in the majority of content for like raid and stuff. Like especially if you have Angelica, she's really good in raid, so you can just use her in raid as your tank, and you know, just build 3 units around her that are 6-starred, and you know, try to hit other roles so you have a really flexible team comp. Example of a unit that is really flexible and hits a lot of what's it called, categories for PvE would be like Lilius. She's a tank. She's a cleanser in her S3, right? She has a dual attack in her S1, so she's kind of a single target DPS. Not really, but like, you know, she helps quite a bit. Like she hits three categories, right? She's a tank, single target DPS, and the cleanser, right? So units like Lilius are really good. Viable free-to-play options that are very accessible would be, I don't know, I left that screen. Let me go back. Would be right under Lilius for me. It's going to be above, actually. It'll be Aros. Now, Aros is the main character. Everyone gets him. After you clear episode 2, you can specialty change him, and he becomes a lot better. Very strong in PvE, even very strong in PvP right now. Now, the reason why he's strong is he's a dispeller in his S1, as you can see here. Dispel's buff. S2 is a dual attack, so single target DPS. Once you fill out his skill tree, which you get from specialty changing him, this has like a 60% to defense break, so it's a single target DPS and defense breaker as well in Ross. And then S3 is a defense buff, so he has some utility. Makes everyone really tanky. It's actually pretty useful. So yeah, Aros is a really good option after, you know, for your unit to 6-star. And another one would be, sorry, let me go back. So Aros, where you can use him, right? You can use him in PvP, you can use him in Abyss, you can use him in Raid. Very good in all of them. Expedition, he'll be really good. Like he's just really good in a lot of content. So he's a very good option to 6-star especially if you have this specialty change unlocked for him, which is pretty easy. He's just a really good unit. Another one that's really similar to him, more for PvP than PvE, but still very strong in PvE. We Flurry. Flurry has CR boost for her team, so kind of a DPS gain for your team because she's boosting everyone, right? And will boost your DPS eventually. Just healing for everyone. Just heals the entire party in her skill tree. Really good. And a dispel and a provoke and a defense break. Provoke doesn't really matter too much in PvE, but defense break is really good. So she's just really good as well in PvE. You can use her in Abyss as well, and Raid, and Expedition. Kind of the same as Aros, but I'd say Aros has a little bit more usage in PvE, and Flurry has a little bit more usage in PvP. Now another option to 6-star, especially if you're lacking a single target DPS, will be, where is she? Lorina. Lorina isn't really a flexible unit. She's kind of basically only single target. Specialty change will only give her like more damage, but she is one of the best free-to-play single target units in the game, if not the best. I'd recommend using her for Abyss. She's good in some expeditions. She's very good in Raid, and like I said, Raid is really recommended right after Wyvern for gear farming. So Lorina is very good to 6-star right after. You won't really regret 6-starring her. You'll use her into late game as like your PvE unit. She's not really a PvP unit, but she's just really good in PvE. So I'd recommend 6-starring her. Another unit, and you'll realize that all the units I suggested so far are specialty change. It's because Smilegate designed it so most specialty units that are very easy to fill the quest out are kind of designed for early game, and you'll see that they're very strong. Like the next one I'll suggest is a Momo. She's a healer. She can tank. She has a lot of cleansing, and that's the main reason you take her. She's a really good cleanser. And in Raid, there's going to be a lot of bosses, if not all of them, that have a lot of debuffs on your party, and you need someone to cleanse them. And if you have a Momo, she can solo cleanse. Really good. She can also tank, right? Because you just make her super tanky, and just have her in the front, and you're good to go. A Momo, really recommend as well. Now, after the specialty change units, the next one will be your Moonlight Blessing unit. So I took Spectre Tenebria because I was a lot further in the game than new players. Spectre Tenebria is kind of better later, especially if you want to RTA, which I kind of like doing. So I took Spectre. You guys will probably take RB because he's a lot better early game in PvE, more flexible, still very good in RT and PvP. If you take RB, you should do him as well whenever, you know, you feel like you have the dogs to do it. I'm not saying RB has to be done right away, right after your Wyvern team, but it's a very good candidate. RB is a very good PvP unit, very strong in PvE as well. He has a lot of AoE DPS, and he's safe because he can revive when he dies. RB can be used in Raid, he can be used in some of this. I don't know if he can be used in Expedition. You can probably make him work in Expedition as well. And he is very good in PvP, obviously. So So he's basically just good at everything. He's a really good option. So I would suggest, you know, 6-starring one of the 5 I mentioned right after your Wyvern team. They're going to just be really, really useful for you in PvE, and, you know, some of them will be good for you in PvP. All of them will be good for you throughout the entire game, though, because, you know, it's not like once you hit late game, you're only PvPing, right? You still got to do your, you know, dailies, weeklies, and farms. So, yeah, those 5 units I would recommend. Afterwards, after you do those 5, you'll probably be, you know, somewhat into mid-game, and then you'll probably have a better idea what to 6-star, and probably have different goals, and, you know, by that time, you'll probably know what you want to 6-star, right? Because you'll be pulling more units as well. Those are just really easy to access for you to play units that are really strong, and, you know, I hope this video helped you, and good luck farming your dogs and 6-starring your units.